This is our new Big Shot tool from Stampin' Up. I've added a little bling on here to make it fun. You can use this, whoops, my bling's falling off. You can use this for many projects. You can use it for die cutting and also for embossing, and for die cutting and embossing simultaneously. So this is a great tool. You know, it's kind of like the computer. I don't know how I ever lived without it. So what I wanted to show you on here is that you just have a platform here that's going to allow the product to go through, and inside of here are two strong steel, almost like rolling pins. And as you go through and roll your product through, it's the pressure between those two steel rolling pins that actually does your die cutting and your embossing for you. And so the secret to make everything turn out nicely is to follow the instructions on this very nice multi-purpose platform that comes with the Big Shot when you get it. And the platform's important is because it creates a thickness, so that any of the products you're running through here are going to be just the right optimum thickness to be able to either impress or to die cut whatever the product is you have. And on the tabs it tells you that you would use the platform just like this if you were doing a wafer thin die. If you open up tab 2, it'll take you to tab 1 and it shows you all the different products on here that you can die cut. Metal stencils without a folder or a counter die, Sizzix textures, the texture embossing plates, emboss lits, clear lits, sizzlits, simple impressions embossing folders, and it just tells you all the steps that you need here. You could use this in the Big Kick or the Big Shot machine. Then the next level we go to shows us that this lower level will work with the 2.5-inch embossing folder, and it will also work with the Sizzlix textures. This platform would be used if you were using a thicker material like chipboard and trying to emboss it rather than your typical cardstock or other papers. So the instructions are here for all the different products that can go through, and so it's a matter of just figuring out how you want to use the products. So let's start off by doing some projects and giving you a feel for how this works. One of our Bigs dies. These are referred to as Bigs because they're the nice thick dies. And because of the thickness of this die, it's not going to be necessary to use the platform because the thickness is already achieved in the build of the die itself, actually. So we'll take that out and not use it this time. But when you're using your dies, you have to put them together like a sandwich. And so you have these clear plastic plates that you'll use, and you will set one down on the bottom, then you're going to set your die on there, then you'll set your paper that you want to have cut out, you put it face down on top of the die, and then you would put your top piece of plastic to make your cut. Now in this particular die, it's a little envelope, and it has some score lines here, 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 and here. Everything else will be cut out in the die, but these are just score lines. If I were to go ahead and use this, as I had just demonstrated this way, I would run the risk, it would cut out nicely, but I'd run the risk of those score lines actually cutting through because of the pressure as it squeezes through and goes through the machine. So to prevent that, what I like to use is a pad that is an impressions pad, and it's bendable. And what it does is it's going to replace this piece of plastic that I would normally put through for a regular cut. So everything's the same. I've got my clear piece on the bottom, I have my die, I have my paper on top, and then I'm going to go ahead and put this black piece right on top of here. I'm going to push it in until the handle starts moving. You see that? And once the handle moves up, then I'm going to take the handle and do a roll, transfer my hand up here to the handle, and then just roll all the way through. Now as I do that, I will lift off all of my sandwich parts, the top piece. I've got my paper here, and as you can see, it doesn't break loose from the paper. That's fine. One of the things I want to point out to you is that when you do buy this nice creasing pad, it also comes with a thin piece of plastic with it. Now some people may think that's packaging material, but it's not. It's actually a shim. And it's used because it depends on the thickness of your paper and so forth, whether you're going to get a good crease or not, or get a good cut. So in this case, we are going to need to use the shim because as we put it through, you can see that it did not cut all the way through as we wanted it to. So I will begin again stacking my sandwich. I'm going to put my regular clear piece of plastic down. I'm going to put the shim down. I'll then put the die down. And I've got another piece of paper here we'll place right on top. And although that shim is so thin, you'd think it wouldn't make that much of a difference, but it really does. It makes a difference. And then I'm going to go in and lay down my black creasing pad. Push it in. That handle starts to move. Grab the handle, start rolling. We'll go through there. We'll pull it all out. And it falls apart beautifully. And that's the way it's supposed to work. If you find for some reason that it's not cutting through or your paper's thinner, you can just add a thin piece of cardstock in there to add as another shim. It just depends on the thickness of your paper. So now that we've got it, it die cuts it beautifully, and you can see the score lines are nice and clean, ready for folding. And it's all ready to make your cute little envelope. So that's a big die.